You know the hadith, Rasulullah said that obeying the father is obeying Allah, and disobeying the father is disobeying Allah. How many of us have said wrong things or disobeyed our father? When our father, maybe one of the youngsters, maybe he smokes, and his father said, don't smoke. How many of the youngsters stopped smoking? Maybe the child was doing some certain crime, speeding on the road, and the father says, don't speed. How many times have we disobeyed the father, and how many times have we speed the car? Unfortunately, this is a epidemic in our society, that our parents, our elders are telling us again and again that don't speed, don't do this, don't do that. But still, we are going against them. And that's the reason why when we go against them, then these accidents happen. They are the ones who are wise. But when we don't listen to them, and we ignore their actions, and we ignore their commandments, then we understand later, when the accident happens, when we fall into trouble, when the police is on our case, when we're going to court, then we remember our parents like, oh, I should have remembered that my father told me to stop doing this and I didn't do this. When we're at the court and the judge is in front of us, then we remember that if only I listened to my parents. When we're in the hospital, laying on the bed, due to an accident that we did, when we're speeding at night, then we remember that I should listen to my parents. But then it might be too late. Maybe then the judge might give an order of 5 years, 10 years in prison. Maybe the doctors say that you only have 2 days to live. Then we'll be feeling sorry for ourselves. If only we listen to our parents and our elders first, that are telling us to be safe, to drive safely, not to do crime, not to go into drugs, not to hang around with wrong people. Then maybe, if we listen to them, we are saved from these epidemics. So my dear Islam brothers, and especially the youngsters, try our best that whenever the parent, he talks to the child, whenever the parent, he advises the child, he doesn't do it for his own good. He does it for the child's good. That the child will be saved, that the child will be not harmed from the world. He does it for your own good. So listen to him. I'd like to present to you a very beautiful story. And it's something that we should all listen to attentively and try our best to lower our heads and maybe even close our eyes and listen to this story. It's a true story. And it goes that there was once a boy and a mother. The boy's mom only had one eye. They were very poor, but the mother wanted the boy to have an education. So she would eat sometimes, so she could spend the money on his education. They laughed and played as a baby. The time came when the boy was ready for school. She would walk him to school every single day. One day, a bunch of the kids made fun of him for having such an ugly mother. They said, "Look at your mom, she only has one eye." At the end of the day, he came home and he yelled at her mother that, "You're so stupid, I hate you. How could you do this to me? Don't ever walk me to school again." The mom asked that, "Oh boy, what is wrong?" And the boy just said that, "Why don't you just die?" And he walked up to his room, and then after, he never walked with his mother to school again. The boy studied real hard so he could leave his mother, and one day he got a job offering in another country and he left. After some time, he got married. He had children of his own. The mother was lonely and poor. She was the only mother there. Still, she was happy for her child, that my child is working in a big office in another country. One of the neighbors delivered the news to that mother that her child had children, that she had grandchildren. She gathered up the rest of the money that she had, and she thought that I must go and visit my grandchildren. She was in tears when she got there. She hadn't seen her son in such a long time. When she stood by her son, his children laughed at her. Her grandchildren laughed at her and said, "How dare," and the boy said that, "How dare you scare my children like this? Leave from here." And she apologized and left. Years went on, and he received a business trip to his hometown. So he said that out of my curiosity, I went and visited the home where I lived. I knocked on the door, there was no reply. So I knocked on my neighbor's door, and they had told me that your mother has died a year ago. He was so relieved inside to hear the news that she had died. They then handed him a letter and said that she wanted you to give this letter. It said on it, to my son. He opened that letter, and when he read the letter, it said, my dearest son, I think of you all the time. I'm sorry that I went to a different country and scared your children. I was so happy to hear that you had a business trip here, but I am unable to get out of bed to see you. I'm sorry I was a constant embarrassment for you. You see, when you was little, you got into an accident and lost your eye. As a mother, I thought people would laugh at you as you grew up with only one eye. So I gave you one of mine. I was so proud of my son who was seeing the whole world from his new eye that I've given.
Allah.
Saying this, he said, the mother wrote at the end that I will always truly love you, your mother. The boy cried a lot. He cried so much, but his cry was in vain, as it was too late and his mother had passed away. موت کی آغوش میں جب تک کہ سو جاتی ہے ماں، پھر کہیں جا کر سکون تھوڑا سا پا جاتی ہے ماں. جانے کتنی برف سی راتوں میں ایسا بھی ہوا، بچہ تو سینے پہ ہے گیلے میں سو جاتی ہے ماں، بچہ تو سینے میں ہے گیلے میں سو جاتی ہے ماں. روح کے رشتوں کی یہ گہرائیاں تو دیکھیے، چوٹ لگتی ہے ہمارے اور طرف جاتی ہے ماں، چوٹ لگتی ہے ہمارے اور طرف جاتی ہے ماں. سامنے بچوں کے خوش رہتی ہے ہر ایک حال میں، رات کو چھپ چھپ کے لیکن اشک برساتی ہے ماں، رات کو چھپ چھپ کے لیکن اشک برساتی ہے ماں. چاہے ہم خوشیوں میں ماں کو بھول جائیں دوست، تو جب مصیبت سر پہ آتی ہے تو یاد آتی ہے ماں، جب مصیبت سر پہ آتی ہے تو یاد آتی ہے ماں. موت کی آغوش میں جب تھک کے سو جاتی ہے ماں. So my dear son brothers, our mother is a very valuable and precious asset that we have. But unfortunately, we leave our parents in the old homes. Unfortunately, we leave our parents at the time when they mostly need us. At the time when they are babes, they can't do anything themselves. They are bedridden. They can't even wipe their own najasat. At that time, we leave them and we think of them as dirty, and we think of them that we should give them to a nurse or give them to some old home that they can look after. Unfortunately, this, my dear brothers, is one of the problems in our society, that we have lost lost the respect of our parents, that we have lost the respect of our elders. And if we have lost this respect, we ourselves are to blame. We ourselves are to blame, and we ourselves are to blame for coming into these problems and these societal issues. This is the reason why, because we have lost the respect and the obedience of our elders. So my dear sons, this is what Dawat-E-Islami is teaching us, to bring back that old mindset that we have to respect our elders. Bring back the old mindset that we're not going to shout back at our parents. Bring back the old mindset that we have to obey our parents. And obeying parents, my dear sons, if they tell you to do such a thing which is against Sharia, then of course do not obey them. But other than that, try your best to obey them in every single situation. Sallu ala al-Habeeb, sallallahu ala Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. My dear sons, brothers, another aspect of respect is respecting of the saints, of the pious predecessors, and the ulama, the scholars of Islam, the pioneers of Islam. Sallu ala Habeeb sallallahu ala Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Whilst teaching the respect of a teacher, Ala Hazrat Imam Ahl Sunnat, Imam Ahmad Raza Khan rahmatullah alayhi said that a student should not precede the teacher in conversations. Some of the respects that we should do with our teachers. A student should not precede the teacher in conversation. A student should not sit at the place where the teacher is sat in his absence. Number 3, whilst walking, he should not walk ahead of his teacher. Number 4, when spending on his teacher, he should not show stinginess. In fact, he should spend with an open heart. Number 5, the right of a teacher should be given preference over the right of his parents and all the Muslims. Number 6, even if he learned only a single word from his teacher, he should still show humbleness before him. Number 7, if the teacher is inside the house, then he should only knock the door, and rather he should wait for him until he comes out himself. Number 8, the student should not let any trouble to be caused to the teacher from his side. If the teacher receives any trouble from any student, then the student will be remained deprived of the blessings of knowledge, of ilm. So, my dear sons, this was few etiquettes that Ala Hazrat Imam Ahmad Raza Khan, he writes in regards to the respect of a teacher, Fatwa al-Zawiya. And why is there so much respect of a teacher? The respect of a teacher is because the teacher, he is a scholar of Islam, an alim. And when it talks about teachers here, it means the Deeni teachers, the people who teach you the Deen. So we should respect them. Why? Because they have the knowledge of Islam. And knowledge is a very respectable, thing that we should have in mind, and we should also try to respect. Sallu ala al-Habeeb sallallahu ala Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. In regards to knowledge, it will be mentioned that the student of knowledge, the person who is a talib ilm, someone who is seeking knowledge, even he should have respect. And he is also respected in the court of Allah as well. It's been mentioned in narrations that if a student of knowledge, he goes past a graveyard, and he goes past his graveyard, he doesn't recite anything, he doesn't even look at the graveyard, even if he doesn't even know that there's a graveyard there, but just his mere passing of that graveyard, 40 days, this punishment of the grave is lifted from that graveyard. And this was just by the mere fact that a student of knowledge, a student of deen, went past a graveyard. So what do you think will be the status and the status and the grand state of a alim, a scholar of Islam? How much he will have blessings and how much respect he will have in the sight of Allah. And in fact, it's been mentioned that to look at the face of a scholar, just looking at him, this is also ibadah. This is also also worship as well. And the scholars, they are such respected individuals. As we mentioned in narrations, the summary of a hadith, which is that the ink of a scholar is more holier than the blood of a martyr. This is the rank of the scholars of Islam. So we should try our best to respect the scholars of Islam, especially if Mufti Sahib comes, some Alama Sahib comes. Try to make them sit in the front, give them space, and if they are coming, stand up for their respect and give them their respect. Why they have studied for so many years and dedicated their life to the deen, all we can do is at minimum respect them and give them this honor. And my dear sons and brothers, in regards to the scholars of Islam, in regards to how they should be respected, Amir Ahl Sunnah Dawam Barakatun Aliyah, he himself very beautifully showed his respect to the scholars. He's a scholar himself, but how he respects the scholar is amazing. A very famous scholar, you might have heard of the name of Habeeb Umar. Once he came to Fazan Medina, Karachi, and Amir Sunnah met him, and then he took him to his home, and him, Sheikh Habeeb Umar, and his son, they were both at the home of Sayyidi Amir Ahl Sunnah. When the time came to that they wanted to leave, Amir Sunnah came out of the house barefooted and walked so many steps to the car and seated them into the car himself. This was the respect that he gave to the scholars. And many times you must have seen that when a scholar is sat in their presence, they will be sat with their arms folded, looking down, respectfully sat. Even though he himself is known as a big scholar of this time, a wali of the Waqf, but still in front of other scholars, they lower their head and they have the respect of the scholars in their heart. And so much so that the scholars themselves have appreciated how much they have respected them. And they say, Amir Hussain says that the ulama are the crowns of our head. So if a alim himself, who is a wali, who is known to be a wali amongst the Ahl Sunnah, as a very big wali as well, if he himself is saying that the scholars are the crowns of our head, then for us, the mere public, what should we think of the ulama and how much respect we should have of the ulama? And mawtul alim, mawtul alim. If a scholar dies, it is as if the whole world has died. Why? Because knowledge has so much benefits and blessings that when the person of knowledge, when the person of ilm, when he passes away, it is as if knowledge has passed away. So we should try our best to learn knowledge and become scholars of Islam. If not ourselves, then our children. Amir Hussain says that every household should have one alim. So everyone, inshallah, those who have children, or those who are, inshallah, in the future going to have children, make intention that if me, myself, I can't become a scholar of Islam, then at least my children, I will make them the scholars of Islam, inshallah. And you'll see the blessings of this in your life. How easy your life and your dini matters will become. Because you have a household alim, you can ask him whenever you want. So these type of things we need to start to cooperate in our household, and this will inshallah make a change in the society. In regards to respecting of the elders, it will be mentioned regarding respect of those people who are in your family as well. So anyone that is in your family, Allah has ordered us to respect them as well. Therefore in Surah An-Nisa, verse number 1, Allah says, وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ الَّذِي تَسَاءَلُونَ بِهِ الْأَرْحَامِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ كَانَ عَلَيْكُمْ رَقِيبًا. Translation from Kanz al-Iman, and fear Allah in those names who demand mutual rights, and be mindful of your blood relations. Indeed, Allah is observing you all the time. Under this blessed ayah, the great thinker of the Ummah, Mufti Ahmad Yar Khan, alayhi rahmatul rahman, he states, the way of Salah, Saum, Zakat, Hajj, etc. are necessary for a Muslim. In the same way, it is also necessary to fulfill the rights of the relatives as well. He rahmatullahi then further states that treating the dear and near ones well is very beneficial for the world as well as the hereafter. This stabilizes our life, death, and our hereafter. And Sadr Sharia Alama Maulana Mufti Muhammad Amjad Ali Azmi, rahmatullahi, he that there is a consensus of the entire ulama and ijma of the ummah on the fact that treating relatives nicely is wajib. It is wajib. And cutting ties with them is haram. So what does he say? That it is a consensus and ijma of the ulama, the scholars of Islam, of the whole ummah. There's no ikhtilaf, there's no difference of opinion on this matter, that treating relatives nicely is wajib. So what does nicely mean? It does not mean that if your relative did not come to your khatam, you cut ties with them. You say that we don't have nothing to do with them anymore. If your relatives did not come to a wedding, you say that unki aur hamari khatam. This is not treating them nicely. Treating them nicely means that if they are depriving you, you give more to them. If they didn't invite you to their son's wedding, you invite them to all your son's wedding. If they didn't give you such and such invitation to a khatam or to something else, you give them invitations to extra things, to mahfil milaz and extra things. This is treating them nicely. Treating good with good is just doing the opposite. But treating bad with goodness, this is what is known as good character. When someone treats someone that is treating someone bad, if someone is doing something bad to you and you treat them bad, that is the same. But if you treat them with goodness, then this is good character. So this is something that we should try and implement in our lives. And what else did he say? He said that cutting ties with them, it is haram. To cut ties with family relations is haram. Here, over little things, they haven't been speaking for so many years. So many years have gone past and they haven't been speaking. They've got narazgi. Narazgi is very, very common. And, the families, I don't think there won't be a family here that doesn't have some kind of narazgi. And unfortunately, this is haram. If someone has a narazgi with a family relation for no reason, if there's a shari reason behind it, then of course that's fine. But for no reason or just for mere, little reasons, they have narazgi, then this is haram, and they should go to that family and say sorry to them. But then what comes to mind is, how can I say sorry to them? They was the one that did this to me, they was the one that did that to us. How are we going to say sorry? They should say sorry to us. No, my dear son. We should be the better person. We should be the better person. And even if they violated our rights, if we go to them and say sorry to them, maybe this can soften their hearts and they will also say sorry back to us as well. And we should forgive them in our hearts. We should not have any of this kina, this bad thoughts and ill hatred towards anyone, especially your family members. They've got your blood in their veins. You're all the same blood, and still we are fighting against each other. Many cases we have heard of two brothers are fighting over what? A piece of land in Pakistan. They live in UK. They've got houses here. They know that they're not going to shift back to Pakistan, but still what they're doing, they're fighting over a piece of land that they're probably not even going to live. They're probably not going to make a house on. Just fighting over it. Over what? Just a piece of land over the world. And you're destroying your akhirah over just a little portion of the land. Just forget all this. These type of issues will come. This is life. Issues like this will happen. But it is how we deal with them issues. Do we face them the way that they faced us? If they faced us in a bad way, do we face them in the same way? Or do we face them with a good way? And forgive them. If we forgive, inshallah, Allah will forgive us as well. There's a story of a person when he died. When he died, he was seen in a dream that he was in Jannah. And the person asked that, Ma fa'ala Allahu bika, that what did Allah treat you? And he said that I am now in Jannah. And then he asked the reason why. And he said that once my wife, she put extra salt in my food. I got very angry, but in my heart I forgave her and I never spoke on the issue. And just because I forgave her, Allah Azza wa Jal forgave me as well. So this is the reason why Allah Azza wa Jal will forgive a person as well. That He will have mercy on a person. Why? Because He had mercy upon one of His people as well. Imam Ghazali, very famous. Who has heard of Imam Ghazali? Put your hand up. Everyone's known of Imam Ghazali. Very famous person, scholar of Islam. When he died, someone saw him in the dream. And he said that, Ma fa'ala Allahu bika, how did Allah treat you? He said, Allah has forgiven me. And when it was asked the reason, he said that once, keeping in mind that Imam Ghazali, how many books he wrote, how much famous he was in the world of tasawwuf, how such a big wali he was, well, listen to what reason he was forgiven. It said that once I was writing and a fly came and sat on my ink. And having mercy on that fly, I let that fly rest and let it drink the ink so it can quench its thirst. And due to me being merciful on that fly, Allah had mercy on me and forgave me as well. This is Imam Ghazali, the author of so many books. And what did Allah forgive him on? Just a mere fact that he had a mercy on a fly, and due to the mercy of that fly, Allah forgave him. Little things like this that we might think, they're not going to have a big effect. It can have a major effect in the court of Allah. So if we forgive our relatives, if we be the bigger man and forgive them, inshallah, Allah will forgive us as well. And have that in mind, intention in mind, that I am forgiving these people, these relatives of mine, I am having mercy on them and forgiving them, even though they did wrong with me. Allah Azza wa Jal, you also forgive me as well. And inshallah, you will find Allah Azza wa Jal as the one who is forgiving. Inshallah Azza wa Jal. Sallu ala al-Habeeb, sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is what Dawat-E-Islami is teaching. Dawat-E-Islami instills the love of fellow Muslim brothers in the hearts. Many people, due to the effect of Dawat-E-Islami, their families have come together. Due to the effect of Dawat-E-Islami, even two tribes have come together as well. Things like this have happened. Why? Because Dawat-E-Islami teaches that we should follow the Sunnah of the Holy Prophet. And the Sunnah of the Holy Prophet is that we be kind to people, that we be just to people, that we forgive one another, that we give to people that deprive us, that we forgive the ones that are oppressing us. This is what the Sunnah is. The Prophet ﷺ, he taught us to forgive one another. He taught us to live in peace and harmony with one another. It's fine to have a difference of opinion with someone. It's fine to have ikhtilaf with someone. But that ikhtilaf should not turn into mukhalafat. Look at Amir al-Sunnah. So many scholars have ikhtilaf with Amir al-Sunnah. But never once has Amir al-Sunnah done mukhalafat of them. There's a difference. Ikhtilaf is something else. Mukhalafat is something else. Ikhtilaf means a difference of opinion. And mukhalafat means going against someone. Okay, so everyone is entitled to their opinion. But it does not mean that we have to have hatred for that person. We still love our fellow Muslim brothers as well. So this is what Dawat-E-Islami teaches. And alhamdulillah, Nigrani Shura, in his visits, when he was here in the UK, he met many other communities, people of African community, Somalian community. He met them. And what did he say to them? He said what Dawat-E-Islami teaches. إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ إِخْوَةٌ. The Quranic ayah that indeed Muslims are brothers. It doesn't matter if you are different, he is different, we are all brothers. And this is what Dawat-E-Islami teaches. So it's my request that brothers try and participate in the works of Dawat-E-Islami. Try and keep yourself attached in Dawat-E-Islami. And you'll start to see a change in your life. You'll start to see an improvement in one's own character. You'll start to feel more happy in life. Why? The more you forgive people, the more burden is lifted from your heart. And when more burden is lifted from the heart, the more happy you feel. This is, simple. If we have hatred for that person, every time he walks past, oh my God, I don't like him, don't want him doing this, don't want that, hate that person, our heart is just going to be full of burden and full of sorrow. But if we have a clean heart, pure heart, and we forgive everyone, that all Muslims are brothers, then inshallah we'll find our life being more happy as well. And I want every Islam brother here, if there is someone that you want to rise with, then I want you all to, either right now or straight after the ijtima, to text them or call them, or even if you can visit them and ask forgiveness. Ask forgiveness from the bottom of the heart. It doesn't matter if they hurt you. It doesn't matter if you are the ones that were oppressed. Just forgive them and you'll see the peace that you have in your heart. You'll see the peace. When you go to sleep, you'll have such a mindful peace, peaceful sleep. Why? Because you have forgiven one of your relatives. So try your best to remove these narazgis, try your best to remove these birthday of haram. This is actually, haram that is going on. We are breaking ties with our relation. This is haram. Remove this parda, and inshallah you will find your life more peaceful and tranquil. May Allah give us the ability to respect our elders, ability to respect our parents and obey them, and also to bring ties with our family members and to not break off ties with them. Ameen. Bijahi Nabi Ameen. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Wa sallu ala al-Habeeb.